Hi, this is Justin Sullivan from New Model Army, and you're watching Music News.
Justin Sullivan, great to see you again. Feeling good today?
I don't know yet.
You're at the Roundhouse for a change. It makes a change from the Forum when you're in London.
Yeah, we did do the Roundhouse last year actually.
Yeah.
And the second time. Strange place.
Nice, circular.
Well, yeah. Every gig has a vibe though, or a feeling, or a sort of. Yeah, I haven't decided whether I love this place or not yet.
Yeah, they spent a fortune on it. I was lucky enough to be at the launch, and 25 million or something, I remember.
Not back here, they didn't.
But a great place, always, and always a good view. I don't know, certainly good views anyway.
Yeah.
In the round, as it were. I mean, obviously you're playing tonight when England play France, World Cup quarter-final. Yeah,
that's a slight oversight, but you know.
You're a big football fan as well.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to be watching the first half then?
Yeah, probably.
That'll be your warm-up. Have you been watching much of the World Cup?
Yeah, I've seen quite a lot. We didn't see that yesterday, which was apparently the game of the tournament. We were on stage at Rock City. It's always difficult when you're playing during World Cup matches.
Yeah, both of them penalty
just how it is.
Shootouts. Let's hope it's not the same tonight.
I saw a lot of the earlier games. It's apart from everything you can say about it being in Qatar and everything, but the football's been all right.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you wrote the beautiful game in the run-up to the 2014 World Cup.
Yeah, the beautiful game is there was this project called the Spirit of Football, which was started by a couple of people in Europe, but basically it's a network of football lovers from around the world. Yeah. And what they do is I'm not sure how they've done this one, but certainly in the last two World Cups, probably on this one as well, is they played the year we did it, they played a game with the original football rules circa 1890 in Hackney or somewhere, which we played, which was very strange. And then they take a ball by road, bus, whatever, from London to wherever the World Cup is, and on the way they go to some professional clubs. Sometimes they go to little clubs, they go to village greens, they play football with people wherever they go, and they film this. And it's like the idea that the game brings the world together, that it is the world's game, which it is. Yeah. And it's not really related to the World Cup at all, and it's certainly not related to FIFA or any of the organisation of football. It just celebrates the idea of the love of football. And we had a friend called Fernando Godoy, who's based in Sao Paulo, and he said, and he was going to be really involved that year, and he's done lots of projects in Sao Paulo to do with the Spirit of Football, which is local grassroots football. And he said, would you write us a song for this thing? And we went, yeah, okay, all football songs are awful. We'll see if we can make a better stab at it. I quite like it, actually.
Yeah, it's a great song.
And Kerry had just joined the band at that point, so that's the first thing he did was, we did that. Yeah, it was fun.
Absolutely. How has the recent tour been going then?
The recent tour is quite extraordinary. We had all these shows from 2020. A lot of them were double sets, to celebrate the 40 years and stuff. And then they got put off to 21, and then they got put back to 22. And they got concertinaed into a really heavy 5 weeks where we basically, I think we had 4 days off in 5 weeks, and it involved a lot of bus touring around up Scandinavia, around Europe on a big loop. Then we flew out to Istanbul and did Athens, Istanbul, Thessaloniki up to Bulgaria. Then we flew back and then did another loop around on the bus around Europe. And we looked at the schedule and went, oh my God. And actually it went swimmingly well, and we did, it went really well.
Yeah,
we did good business everywhere, and there's a good vibe everywhere. It's such a strange time. I have to say, in the summer I travelled a lot around Europe, and it felt like this everywhere you went. It's like the first summer after and the last summer before. This sense of it's the first summer after COVID, so everybody's out, but the last summer before, who knows what, and everybody has this sense of impending doom, unsurprisingly. So it is a strange time. I mean, I've been talking about this on stage a little bit. Maybe it's more common to human experience over the last X thousand years, but we suddenly live in a world where you have no idea what the world would look like in 2 years' time.
It is incredible.
And that's very new for our time.
Yeah.
Usually you could look 2 years from now and think, oh, well, this will be like this, and make plans and stuff. You have no idea what the world would look like in 2 years' time.
Do you have any sense of what's around the corner?
No, I have no idea. Could be anything. Most of what's coming is bad, but everything, but from, nothing is only ever bad. Who knows? It's like it's sort of like a perfect storm of humanity's own making that everybody's seen coming for the last 30 years, and now it's here. And we haven't averted it. We've chosen to go and argue with each other, and now it's here, and no one knows what to do.
Yeah, no, it is crazy. We live in definitely troubled times. I know, you've sort of talked about and sort of broached the subject many times in the writing, and is that going to sort of figure in your writing at the moment for the next?
Well, we've written an awful lot of the next album, actually. We wrote a lot of it last year, and then some more of it this year. We just haven't had a chance to get down to it, so that's the next plan. The moment this is over, which is the end of this is in Cologne next week.
Yeah.
And then we have a blank canvas for next year, really, and the thing is to write a new album. Of the writing, it's kind of a mixture, actually. It's the small stuff, personal stuff, and then some big stuff, which is always what we do. It's always, everything's linked anyway in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, the last album as well was recorded in sort of North Norway, which clearly influenced the whole. The last
album was a very deliberate attempt. Basically, the album previous, which was Winter, was written just before Trump and just before Brexit, but we knew what was coming. We knew what was coming with Brexit, and this kind of impending doom. And Winter's a very claustrophobic album, and quite conflictual and so on. And when we did From Here, it was all here, and we made a very deliberate attempt to step back, take one step back out of all the conflicts, and write an album which was huge and beautiful, and more about all the things that unite us rather than things that divide us. Obviously, not least the sort of eco.
Yeah.
Eco future, and we'd written some of it before we went up to Norway, but by the end of the writing we knew we were going up there, and it seemed like the perfect place because you had this amazing backdrop of mountains, Atlantic Ocean, snow, and in the studio is the astonishing place. It's right on the snow-covered beach, and there's windows, and you can watch the tide coming in and out, and you can watch a storm on the mountains over there, and clear sky over there over the sea or whatever. And then we had the Northern Lights and everything you could dream about, and it was the perfect place to consider like the big picture and not get hung up on the little conflicts. And I think that was the idea of the album. The next album is not like that. It's
are you set on a location where you're going to?
No, we're not set on a location at all. We haven't really set on a producer, a mixer, a location, anything. We've just have done quite a lot of writing, and I think that this tour has been interesting because last year we were suddenly thrown into being a sort of 4-piece instead of a 5-piece, which was a bit of a shock to start with, and then actually after a while we got used to it, and then we went, actually we quite like this, and there's a particular sound which is quite different from the sound we were making before. It's a bit there's more space in it, basically, I suppose, kind of obviously. And it's a bit more like earlier New Model Army, where it's really about the bass and drums.
Yeah, no, that's exactly the way I always saw it.
And so we've kind of started to develop a slightly different sound to do with that. We're quite keen to apply that to the next lot of material, but we haven't had a chance yet.
So when you've chosen a location and the studio where you record an album, you enter the studio, as it were, without sort of a finished product, as it were? You're still going to write?
No, we didn't. The thing about the last album, it was a rare occurrence where we went somewhere special. Usually we don't. We just end up where we end up. It partly depends on the producers. And actually, the Norway trip was the idea of our producers, Lee and Jamie. They went, we have to go up there, and we went, yeah. But you know, when we're writing is done anywhere, anytime. It can be any. I mean, a lot of it's done back at home.
Yeah. I mean, you reference ice, cold, storms there, winter in many songs. Is this, you know, your favourite season that we're in right now, in this cold spell? I like them all. I like all the seasons. Actually, winter's great until like after Christmas. And then by February, you're kind of sick of winter. But it was a bit the same with summer with me. The summer's great in June, July, and then by the end of August, kind of sick of summer. And I really like spring and autumn when you have this sense of every day it's changing. But I love seasons generally. This constant change. I mean, this is what life's made of. Is constant change. So that the changing of the seasons, which we have very definitely in this country. I mean, there's some countries that have, you know, winter and then, you know, very short spring and then it's summer. But here we've really got 4 marked seasons, and I do love that. Yeah, no, it's something. Well, naturally. I mean, at some point, you ever going to surprise everyone with a Christmas song?
No, but there was a song we did a few years ago, which was it's called Kazlan, and it started off as just an acoustic guitar written by Nelson that he played, and then some years later I put some lyrics to it, and it was written around Christmas, and I put lyrics which reference Christmas. I don't think it makes it a Christmas song, but it had something of that in it.
Yeah, I mean, now with all the Christmas, have you got a particular favourite Christmas tune yourself that we hear endlessly on the radio these days?
I don't. I really get tired of them all, to be honest.
Looking forward to a Christmas break though. After the whole.
For me personally, it's a chance to see Blood Family, which I don't see very often, and I've got quite an extended Blood Family, so it's quite nice to see people.
Yeah. And on the solo sort of side of things, we saw you at the Lexington, absolutely amazing night. If you did a pin drop, is there, you know, did you enjoy that night yourself particularly? I
really enjoyed the whole solo tour. Basically when lockdown happened, somebody phoned me up and said, "You're going to make a solo album," and I went, "No, I'm not. I had no intention of it." But actually, you know, the days turn into weeks, and I'm sat there on a sofa with a guitar. And at the very beginning, I was in Bradford, and then I was with my partner in Paris through sort of weeks of lockdown. And actually, I made a solo album, and very quickly I got bored of the sound of me and a guitar. I mean, I just had a microphone and a guitar and a mic. But so I started sending these songs off to various musician friends in different places around Europe. And then through the summer of 2020, during the lockdown, I was every day by email, I was getting musical contributions to these songs. And it was quite fun, and I sort of put it together at the end of the year. And then I was bored, so I started making videos, because I thought, I'll learn how to make videos. I need a project. Yeah. And then by the time it was actually released, and I did that tour, which was, you know, later in 2021, second half of 21. By that point, I think most people were extremely tired of singer-songwriters writing lockdown albums, and everybody wanted some bloody rock and roll. And I came out and did this kind of basically, I think most of the writing on that was an attempt to go somewhere else. So it was all stories about faraway places, and ideas to do with mostly far away. It wasn't about lockdown, it wasn't about the inside of my head, it was about dreaming about imaginary lands and places and events. And I loved doing the tour. I really, really enjoyed it. It was just a chance to, you know, play some quiet songs, sit down on stage, which was kind of easy, tell some stories. And I really did enjoy it very much. And then by the time we got back with New Model Army playing rock and roll, it was like, love this. We had a bit of that this summer. In 2020 we were meant to play a show with an orchestra in Berlin, and we finally got to do it this year. And we said, if we're going to do the show with the orchestra in the big grand Tempodrome, then we have to do the opposite. So the next 2 nights we've booked this very famous little punk club in Berlin called the SO36. We're going to do completely stripped down punk rock gigs. And while we've been on this tour, all this stuff's been mixed, and we've been listening to the mixes of this huge orchestra thing, which was fairly amazing. We only had 2 days rehearsal, which isn't very much. And you know, the recording is obviously problematic because there's 60 microphones on stage, all open, and we're playing Michael's playing full on drums and everything. So it's a tricky mix, but it was really something. And then the next night we went into this punk rock club, and listening to that does sound like a band that have been holed up with an orchestra for a week, and now it's just going like, wow, now it's, here we go.
Is that sort of more constricted than on stage for you with that sort of many people?
I think it wasn't constricted, it was just like very much out of our comfort zone. Difficult to exactly hear what was going on stage with the monitoring and stuff. And we had to concentrate like crazy because we worked with, I say we worked with, but really our friend Shiran Yinon did all the orchestral arrangements. We had a sort of eye on what she was doing, but it was her creation. It was her idea in the first place, and in order to make it interesting, it wasn't us with an orchestra. It was a lot of songs were completely rearranged for the orchestra, so we had to really concentrate on what we were doing to remember the new arrangements of these songs. You know, things happened in different places, and there was a lot of space left for the orchestra. Myself and Sharon, before we did it, we sat down and watched lots of YouTube videos of bands with orchestras, and mostly it was awful. You know, solo artists with orchestras, great. Bands with orchestras, very difficult to pull off, because basically a band is full. So where are you going to put the orchestra? And most of them, the orchestra's sort of somewhere in the background. Probably the worst one is the Metallica one. You know, it's like there is an orchestra playing, but what for? You know, it looks like a vanity project rather than being something musically that interesting. And so we thought about it very clearly, and we had to take a lot of what the band normally does away, but keep the essence and the power of the band while leaving space for the orchestra. And I think the arrangements do that really well, actually.
So is that coming out as a
that's coming out as a massive box set because there's so much material. There's 20 songs we did with the orchestra, there's 40 songs we did in the punk club. God knows, we're not putting it together, but the record company is putting it together. We have a record company which we actually like, Adel, based in Germany. It's sort of a German indie, and they're all right. They're really nice to work with.
Well, that's a breath of fresh air in this industry. And you know, you do so many things like the 1,000 Voices, the orchestral thing. What are sort of your visions and ambitions for the future?
Don't know. We'll do another of those kind of projects at some point. We like to do things once. You know, these big ideas. 1,000 Voices. It was amazing once.
Yeah.
You know, the orchestra. It was amazing once. And so there will be another one along the way soon, but what we really want to do, we're dying to do a new album.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
That's the next thing, and we're really hungry to do it. We've got a lot of ideas, and I think this tour has pulled the four of us together very much, into where we're going and what we're doing.
So at the moment it's going to stay a 4-piece, you're not looking for...
Yeah, I think it's going to stay a 4-piece, augmented in places.
Yeah.
At the moment, actually, anyway, we're augmented. I mean, our monitor engineer plays bass on one track. He does backing vocals always anyway. Drum tech does lots of percussion and sings.
Yeah.
Our guitar tech's playing keyboards on one song. So it's a kind of augmented 4-piece.
Sure. And I mean, are there any musical goals that you still crave?
Yeah.
Such as?
Well, make the perfect album, do the perfect gig. I mean, and given the fact it's not possible, that's the one you keep striving for. You know, you never achieve it. Well, you're always trying to. But I also think it's constant change. It's like you do something, and eventually you're doing it pretty well, and then you kind of go, okay, done that. What's next? You know, what's the next idea? What's the next idea? And it's that, I think we're all very like that in the band. We never got stuck doing what the audience wanted us to do, which was play with the songs they wanted us to play, or to relive their youth, or whatever. We always refused to get stuck anywhere.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we've managed to take, you know, we lost some of our audience. We never became a big band. In the early 90s, we were patch on the edge of being a big band, but we wouldn't do the big band thing. We wouldn't give the audience what they want. We wouldn't say, everybody say yeah. You know, we wouldn't go down that road. We were going to go our own road, doing what we want to do, in the way we want to do it. If you want to come with us, come with us. And what we've ended up with is a very a wonderful audience that are interested in what we're doing next. They're interested in going with us. And you know, we never became a big band. I think in many ways that's a kind of blessing.
I mean, and your credibility completely intact.
I don't, but that's for other people to say. We don't really sort of worry about that so much as what we are very guarded about, reserving our right to do what we want in the way we want, when we want. And if anyone ever tries to put us in a box, you know, our first instinct is to find a way of jumping out of it. It's always been a bit like that. And we're also quite private, so these days an awful lot of bands sort of feel they have to use social media to communicate what's happening in behind the scenes. I don't think we feel the need to do that. We're all quite private people, and the way we make music, that's our own business, sort of, in a way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We did film a lot of the thing in Norway, the sessions. We filmed a lot of it, and then we thought, does everybody need to see this? You know, it's a good promotional tool, but do people need to see this? No, not really.
Wow, could come out on the box set at some point.
Well, yeah. But there's another problem with that though. Is I remember years and years ago that I did a trip across the Atlantic on a freight ship, and I filmed a lot of things, and then later on I did a video for Ocean Rising, where I was looking at this film I'd taken on a camcorder, but and I spent a lot of time editing and looking at it. And funnily enough, what happens is if you film a lot of things, your memory becomes the film. It's what you remember about something is what you see again and again and again of it afterwards. That's not really quite true memory. And if you don't film anything, you have a kind of treasured memory which is mixed in the imagination and slightly confused, but it's, in a way, it's more vivid than when you put everything, you know, into a film. So I started looking at this stuff in Norway, and I thought, I love making this album, and if I'm going to stare at these bits of us making it again and again, this is going to become my memory of it, and that's not what I want, actually. That's what I really remember most is not on film, and I just want to leave it alone. Just keep my own memories and
Yeah, there's a peacefulness in that for sure. Anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, as always. Is there, looking forward to the gig tonight, obviously, anything left to say to all the fans out there?
Good luck. Keep your sense of humour. Keep your sense of perspective.
Fantastic. Justin, a pleasure.
All right.
Thank you very much.